My understanding of this resolution was for our families, our kinship that lives out of province or wherever, away from Saskatchewan, that they would be coming home. But if somebody from out of province that don't have connection to our province, didn't interpret that resolution that they would be eligible to become members or citizens of our government. I want to introduce a resolution, and the resolution is going to be that we, the Assembly, have not seen the criteria around this, that all coming home applications be stopped until criteria is passed through this House Assembly, and an outside auditor review the entire registry from here on in. Thank you.
Also, this Legislative Assembly passed motions about keeping it arm's length from politics. The provincial secretary mentioned that she does not or has not seen the criteria to become a citizen. I know for a fact that every single one of you sitting at this table are registered citizens, therefore you know what the criteria is as you followed it to become citizens. It is the exact same criteria for people living outside the province to be able to become citizens, with the clear exception to certain things that you outlined in this. You do not have access to programs and services. We also, what we will be bringing back to the Legislative Assembly is changes to the Citizenship Act. To the Elections Act, as it is not constitutional and not in line with the Constitution. Our Constitution clearly states that all citizens have the right to vote, and the Elections Act has a 6-month residency requirement, and that is not consistent with the Constitution. And so citizens from outside the province do not have a right to access programs and services, but they do have a right to vote.
That's the criteria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, first of all, Clerk Quintal, CEO Quintal, and Chief of Staff Quintal. But I too, I guess, am not clear with this resolution, and if I've misunderstood, I will apologize to this Assembly. I think I have greater concerns at this point in time, and I have greater concerns because you're absolutely right. We didn't want this we wanted an arm's length away from the politics. We did have a minister in charge at one time. That's number one. And now we have a registrar who answers directly to our CEO, okay, which is you, Mr. Quintal. And let's be honest here. Let's have that tough discussion about who is and isn't Métis. Let's have that tough discussion about descendants and ascending from. And I guess my perspective is obviously different than others. But I'm from this province, and nothing against anybody else who's not. But I grew up being Michif. I grew up being connected to the community. And I think that's partly where everyone around this table at one point in time has been experiencing difficulty as we grow and as we grow our citizenship, is that community connectedness. Who is the community? The community in Pine House, as President McCallum has said, he's connected there. And his community is very different than my community. Everybody's communities are different. That's first and foremost. So I know at one time, and maybe it isn't in our Constitution, and that is our responsibility. But at one time, when citizenship was coming from the local up to the actual citizenship registry, there was a must for community acceptance. And that community acceptance is understanding your identity through your culture. President McCallum is always speaking to this. Culture and culture, language, you know, speaks to your identity. And I'm not saying anything, and this sounds personal, and I'm not trying to make this personal. But my concern is now is, and I'm going to say it, my concern is now is who are we? Who are we? I've always felt as Métis Nation Saskatchewan, and maybe I'm being a little bit possessive and taking ownership, and maybe I am, because I've always been a proud citizen of Métis Nation Saskatchewan, and I've always liked to say that, you know, we are the Michif people, you know, these are our communities, And again, no disrespect to anybody, but I am alarmed. And we haven't seen, as the Provincial Media Council, we've seen no directive of what this is going to look like. So yeah, as we start to clean up our Constitution, I think we need to make sure everything is in line, and we need to make sure as a nation that it comes back to the elected people here in this assembly. That's where it needs to come back to. I love our staff. They do a good job. They do a fantastic job. But it's not our staff who makes those decisions. It is this assembly. And I really ask our assembly to start taking that responsibility and being responsible. You guys have always been responsible, but let's take this very serious. This is our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
As you've seen this morning, I'm sorry, but I had to walk out during that presentation because I as well did not understand, agree, like Secretary McCollum. The homecoming resolution, I was under the understanding, was for our people who lived here before, who were born here before, and had to move to another province to go and work there or something like that. And they wanted to still belong to where their family was born. Not bringing somebody from Ontario or Quebec or BC in not the homeland and bringing them here, and now they're saying that they can vote in the election. The election is 6 months away. How many people are going to get passed before the election and we don't know who they are? And I'm sorry, I really have a problem with, I really think it's conflict because it's your application and you're speaking to it. Richard, I'm sorry. I should, and also, I have a problem, like, you know, we have one employee and that's you, Richard, but you have all the employees, you're the CEO, you're the clerk of the House, you're on every board, you're on every committee, just like other people. There's only certain people.
Folks, I want to stop this right now because this seems like it's going to be an attack on Mr. Quintal, who's
It's not an attack. I'm trying to.
Actually, it is, because you're speaking.
How is it an attack? How is it an attack? We're talking about bringing people who are from other provinces here. So, and voting and different things like that. That's a conflict. There's many conflicts in MNS that we need to address.
Thank you. And I also suggest when the Assembly takes some time to talk about this, that maybe you look at your...
Out of order. I call out of order.
In what way?
I call out of order because it's conflict, interfering with the conversation, especially when he's granting the citizenship. We have a discussion here from the MNLA as directors.
He does not grant the citizenship. Our registry is arm's length from the MNS.
He's the boss of the registrar in the registry office.
And if you understand, he doesn't, and it's arm's length, and it is audited by outside people.
I call out of order because he's not an elected official.
I'm not recognizing that, and I'm going to let Mr. Quintal finish his statement.
I really feel welcomed home, so I want to thank the Assembly for that. I also want to mention that I brought my daughter out here. This was supposed to be a proud day to stand up, embrace our ancestry, be proud to be Métis. You stand all the time and talk about welcoming people home. And I had to ask my wife to take my daughter out of here today because of the lateral violence. So I guess I got the real Métis experience. Thank you.
And that's quite unfortunate, and it shouldn't happen. Jocelyn Ormerod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was one of the people that that spoke, well, not necessarily against this motion, but I wanted to see some changes made to it at the last MNLA. And the be it further resolved that I think kind of came as a result of conversations that I had with Vice President Leclerc. And I think we had at length discussed kind of that idea to the connection to Saskatchewan. I was under the impression that when we left the MNLA that this wasn't going to be implemented in that moment. And maybe that was an oversight on me and I was confused. But I think where I'm at right now is if Lisa's prepared to bring that motion forward, I'd be happy to second it. But also that we need to practice good business. We hear time and time again from our citizens that they want more transparency, that they want more accountability. We're coming up to an election right away here, and every time everybody runs for any sort of position within these elections, we run on campaigns of transparency and accountability. I know it's an internal document, whatever has come up in regards to the guidelines, but I think if we want to practice good, accountable, transparent governance, I think it's integral that we let citizens see what those guidelines are. This is a way that we instill faith in our registry, is by opening up and showing them what these guidelines are. Thank you.
I guess my concern has to do with some of the specifics around the timeline. This motion was put into place and approved here at the MNLA at the end of May. And we all saw in that resolution the final statement with us asking the clerk to work with registry to create the guidelines for implementation. And so in the less than 6 months since that date, they had to work to create these guidelines in order to implement. And as we saw today, there was already applications received and approved and cards made. When I have citizens in my community that live in Saskatchewan, I'll tell you a specific situation where I know of someone that put in an application and her daughter is already registered. So it should be a fairly easy application to process, was told it will take at least 6 months. So that is something that I have a concern with, that these applications were, it seems, it has the perception of being rushed. And I don't agree with that. And I think that's part of the sense from some of the others that have spoken, and that's where some of that, upset is coming from. The other thing that I'm going to speak to is when the motion was on the floor for that resolution, and it was given the task to the clerk to set up guidelines for the implementation, and no disrespect to you, Richard, had I known that that was going to be something that you would benefit when, I probably, to me there's a bit of a conflict there, and it might not have been a task assigned in that situation.
Making a point of conflict that Richard Quintel, as the CEO, has been mandated to implement this.
Please do not direct me.
I'm speaking to the resolution.
To the process
I am
of
speaking to the process.
the registry, not directly about any officer
I'm
of the
speaking to the resolution.
employee
Okay, then
or
I'll
officer.
say CEO. Then I'll say CEO. Is that correct?
No, because you're still identifying a person.
Then how do you
Speak
address-
to the coming home issue.
Okay.
Do not speak about personal.
Okay, then I'll speak to the coming home. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we would have known the conflict within this resolution, we probably would have never passed it without more clarification. So I'm going to introduce a resolution. Whereas we, the Assembly, have not seen criteria for the support of the province citizenship coming home. That all coming home applications stop until criteria is passed through this Assembly. And an outside auditor reviews the entire registry. And this Assembly appoint a 3-member committee on appeal of citizenship application. I make that motion. Lisa McCallum, your provincial secretary.
I'll second that motion. Jeremy Denemy, Alan Mokel.
Okay, so we'll.
I want to be very clear. Democracy's messy. Democracy is about coming to this table and representing everyone in our province. I want to be very clear. Democracy is messy. Democracy is about coming to this table and representing everyone in our province. And everyone has different perspectives and points of view. And so I don't think, and I'm going to speak for myself, I won't speak for anyone else, but I think in yesterday's discussions, I don't think anyone meant any harm, and then all of a sudden terms like lateral violence show up. And you know, I said to somebody earlier today, we're in the process of fusing two governance structures, our historical governance structure and the contemporary structure. And so is it going to get messy once in a while? Yes, it's going to get messy. It's not okay to verbally attack people, and sometimes, you know, heck, even the president and I went head to head, and we've both looked at each other and said, you know, we're sorry. We're just passionate people. We're passionate in our beliefs. So I want to be very clear about that from yesterday. And then I want to move into President Secretary. We ourselves at this table made some very gross mistakes in the MNLA in May. Because all we did is give direction. We didn't ask for it to be brought back. We didn't ask for any of that. So that's our fault. That's bad on us, which ends up now being discussed here. And because everyone has differing opinions, they should not be chastised for that. They should not be shamed for that. And I don't think anyone was attacking anyone about coming home. I think it's a process. And Member King spoke to that. We don't have a process in place, and that's what I think that this motion speaks to, is trying to get a process in place. Clear. We ourselves have put things in conflict. When we directed the clerk, the chief executive officer, the CEO is in charge of the operations, the organization. He's in charge of that. Our CEO is also the clerk, which puts him in conflict. But that's in our MNLA Act. So we ourselves as a governing body have created that conflict. Somehow I touched it. Our CEO / clerk is also he's also the chief of staff, speaking on behalf of and supporting the political side. So we have one individual who we have appointed to 3 different roles, who is all in conflict. So instead of pointing fingers at one person or 2 people, we need to point one finger at ourselves. Because as elected people, we didn't do our due diligence. But if you recall back to May 2024, we had a very fulsome discussion. And yes, it was a tense discussion last time. And the discussion really was around, this is new to us. So what rights do those citizens receive? How do we ensure that they're being benefited by what we do have? And that was very, very, very clear with this motion. Several members talked earlier today how they didn't support this motion. And I thank you for not supporting it, because this is why. Now we're at a position and a point in time where we're attacking each other. We're at a point in time where we haven't been able to get through most of our agenda. And I agree with Member Louis Gardner.
Chair, this is part of the reason we're not getting through the agenda, please.
Okay. Point of order. Thank you.
Point of order, sir.
Just
Yes.
continue, but please speak.
I'm going to address it.
Okay.
But that's why we opened this up today, so that people could address it. Because this is the problem that we have. Democracy is messy. and we don't get a chance to have our voices heard. So I will have my voice heard today. Thank you, Chair. But I want to go back to some of the points that our legal mentioned today. When we talked about the conflict of interest and not coming to the MNLA, 10.8, sorry, got to find it here. 10.8 of the Citizenship Act states, the registrar shall take, so we can audit the process, not go through files, not go on a witch hunt, but we need to stop the coming home until we, as this elected body, are accountable and transparent to our citizens of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. So I'm in favor of, if we want to truly make this a hands-off, non-political involved in this piece of it, but the appeals part, we bring them in. If we want to truly make this a hands-off, non-political, then there should be nothing coming to the MNLA. Our CEO should not be the clerk because that's political, and our CEO should not be the chief of staff because that's political.
Mr. Chair.
We've put our CEO in a very harmful situation.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
His position in regards to when it was too bad and sad yesterday in regards to the names, and I find ourselves in a very precarious position in regards to when we hurt individuals, when we mention their names, that we'll probably have a legal situation in our hands. That's not when we mention their names, that we'll probably have a legal situation in our hands. That's not the spirit of our people. And people...
To honor that, I've been letting people go. And when I have tried to get people, some, not all, to speak to the resolution, I get told I'm cutting them off and I'm killing democracy, as people have said to me out there, people have said to me over there. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, between the rules of the House and the rules that we don't have. So I apologize if I've allowed some of this conversation to get on, but I do not want to stifle that conversation. And obviously we have another 20 people on this list again that want...
That we are not putting our staff as they could with what they had. And we owe it to ourselves. And we owe it to ourselves to start ensuring that we are not putting our staff in conflict. Because we have a staff member in conflict right now.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
Talking about conflict or staff members.
No, I'm stating to the motion. We made the motion. We at the Assembly put our staff in conflict. That's what I'm stating.
You have to stop saying that.
Okay. I don't understand why, because we're responsible for that. We're responsible.
Okay.
This Assembly's responsible for putting that motion together. And that's all I'm saying, is the Assembly needs to take responsibility for it. And we need to try to correct the things that we did in May, and we correct them by supporting this motion, getting the correct criteria in place, understanding the criteria. Like Autumn said.
We don't record.
Okay, I just want
our legal.
clarification
Thank you.
myself.
All right, our legal is now going to explain something.
Point of order. We need to have this read out because that
No,
was
we
just
don't.
put up there and it was just said vote.
It was the motion we've been debating all day.
I know.
And it was voted on
but
and
you
it's
know what?
passed.
You have to clarify again. Read it, please, and say.
Please show respect. Point of order.
Yeah,
Oh, for
it's
God's sake.
it's not.
Point of order, Chair. The people online need to know the vote and the numbers, please.
It passed 49 to 41.
So Hillary, you said that there's no conflict. How do we know as PMC members when we have never seen his contract?
Ms. McLennan, we have to stop this right now. We cannot speak about our staff. We cannot mention names. We can't talk about any of that, or there will be a human rights case. So no more mention of Richard. of our CEO or of conflict?
I just
None.
said his. I didn't say
It doesn't matter. You know, we
Okay.
know who you're talking about.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to say it, but so I'm just
Even talking around the issue is dangerous right now for us.
well,
Because
as a PMC member, and he's supposed to be.
Then you can say this in private, off,
Well, we
out
haven't
of the
seen his
MNLA.
contract, so we don't know what's.
We have to stop
have-
this.
we
You're
have
not
to
allowed
stop.
to ask this question
I'm sorry,
anymore.
we can't. It's right in
Yeah.
the rules.
And any other mention of conflict or of him, that person will be expelled.